dear Ahuva, as you reach this important life milestone, I'd like to share with you, and all those listening in, some thoughts about growing up, as gleaned from our Parshat, Nasso. In many ways, this may be the section of Torah most oriented towards individuality, the notion of one identifying his or her unique place in the firmament of Jewish life. Ours is the longest Parsha of the year, largely due to the repetitive recording of the 12 princes, tribal leaders, each bringing their offerings to the Mizbeach upon its inauguration. Famously, we find that these repetitive tributes were identical in content, and yet the Torah nonetheless reiterated each one of them because although they appeared the same, their inner essence was unique based on each leader's particular intentions and tribal qualities. The great 18th century commentary Or HaChaim explains that the words from the gifts of the leaders of Israel inform us that, in God's eyes, all of the 12 offerings were considered equal. We learn from here that no two people and no two relationships to God are the same, despite outer appearances. We tend to think of individuality in stark, demonstrable terms. If I look like others, I can't possibly be making my own mark. In our broader culture, we value people based on their personas, their public appearances, and measurable metrics of popularity, likes or follows or retweets. We valorize external beauty and other surface indicators of glamour or status. Judaism disabuses us of this superficial understanding. By demanding identical offerings from each tribal leader, the Torah demonstrates that it privileges inner value above more discernible markers. God gives us a template, a script to perform, but each person invests his or her unique energy and flair into that role, and that is what distinguishes us. We find a similar notion earlier in the Parsha, when the Torah outlines various roles of the priestly families. We previously learned that the family of Kahat was responsible for carrying the Holy Ark, which contained both sets of tablets. This week we learn of the Gershom family's role, carrying the beams. The Torah says they are counted, quote, as well. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, the leading American Torah giant of the last century, explained that the phrase as well intends to tell us that the presumably less glamorous job, transporting mere beams rather than the Holy Ark, was just as meaningful ontologically, i.e. in God's eyes, as the more prestigious ark-carrying duty. Another example. In the middle of our parsha, we read about the priestly blessing, which only those born to a particular tribe can recite. Once again, the Torah underscores the unassailable reality of differing functions for differing people. As you grow into teenagehood and beyond, you might be frustrated that some people are granted certain abilities or opportunities that you would want for yourself. It is fine to be aspirational, but when these feelings translate into jealousy, it leaves a corrosive impact on our own souls. And, as the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot reminds us, it drives us from life. Each of us is granted talents placed in a particular life context, and from this admixture we can identify our potential contribution, injecting our personal passion into the uniform structure of mitzvah observance. Furthermore, in our tradition, we know that ein adam noge b'muchan lechavero. No person can touch what is prepared for his or her friend. Each of us has what we need, personally and materially, to accomplish the mission we have been placed here to achieve. And this is the final point. Life is about mission. Like the Nazarite who we discover engineers his surroundings to better optimize his spiritual life. Each of our choices should be prosecuted with this awareness in mind. We are here for a reason. The Torah outlines a shared communal framework, but we must look deep within to identify our special imprint. May you, my dear youngest daughter, and my dear readers or listeners, each find your own role, embrace it, and pursue it with unyielding passion. Mazel Tov and Shabbat Shalom.